Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming this afternoon. The purpose for this briefing, as you've seen, we've posted on our website 5 officer body cameras that were in and around Elmwood Avenue at Bissell a week ago Sunday. The investigation with the Attorney General, who you don't see here, and the State Police continue with the Axon and reconstruction. With the interviewing of witnesses, we still call out for anyone that may have witnessed themselves the crash to come forward. Call the Providence Police, call the Rhode Island State Police, or call the Attorney General's office. Or if anyone possesses any video that shows the actual impact of that crash, please reach out to us. We want to do a thorough investigation, and we have not yet received any video of the point of crash at that scene. So as you've seen, the 5 body cams that were pushed out, and what the Providence police officers did, and our rescue folks and our EMTs that came in on an engine ladder to provide assistance. This is more for pushing out what we have, and we're going to continue to do that. As the mayor and the colonel and the attorney general has said, that what we have, we will share with the public. This is going to be comprehensive, thorough, and transparent, understanding that we have not yet completed the criminal end of things yet. That's a priority. How he was injured, Jamal was injured, is a priority of this investigation, and we're going to continue to get as much as we can possibly get so we can show independently, as much as we have independent evidence showing what led up to the crash and the subsequent injuries of Jamal. I'll open it up to any questions, understanding that there's some of that video. I may not be able to respond back specifically, but I'll do the best I can, understanding I don't have answers to how he was injured, and I don't have some answers because it's still being investigated.
What can you derive from the video? What do you see when you watch the video?
What you see from watching the body cam video is exactly what you all see. The police officer involved in the crash, Officer Andres, you see him coming out of his vehicle and attending to Jamal. And the 4 other subsequent officers in their body cams, both male and female, responding to and rendering aid and processing the scene of that crash. That's what I see. There's no video on the body cams that show the crash.
Is there audio?
In the back, one at a time,
You
please.
hear the officers talk about an overdose, and they actually administered Narcan. I mean, why would they? He was on a motorcycle, and it was obvious that there was some sort of crash. Why did the officers come to some sort of conclusion that he needed Narcan?
So as you see, they're not sure why he's not responsive. They know he's in the crash. That conversation had been had. But look, you know, the Providence Police encounter a lot of unresponsive people. And one of the things that we've trained for, one of the things that we've provided every officer is Narcan. In the event somebody is overdosing, it was a decision made by officers at the scene, and perhaps a few. Let's administer Narcan. Not sure if he was overdosing or it was a result of the crash.
Just to follow up, though, can I
Yes.
just follow up with that question? Because you said officers are trained with administer Narcan, but the officer in the video says, I don't know how to use this thing.
Right.
Can you comment on that? If these officers are trained, why doesn't he know?
Right, I believe that we've changed the administration of that Narcan, so that's relatively new. I know because I have it in my car. And he may not have been familiar with the injection port because we had recently changed from one to another. Brian?
It seems like there's confusion on the scene as to what had actually happened. Officer Andres was right behind him. And it seems like nobody seems to know why the stop sign is there, when at this point, isn't it clear that the officer hit the stop sign and knocked it over? It seems to be questions like, oh, I heard he hit the stop sign, meaning Jhamal Gonsalves. Why didn't Officer Andres speak up? But it seemed like for minutes there was confusion. And again, as to the previous question about the administration of Narcan, shouldn't he have known what had happened, that he crashed? And that's what the reason
Look,
was.
you know, every scene that Providence Police and any police officer in this country go to, there's a lot of, you know, information, misinformation, and, you know, the fourth officer coming in doesn't have all the knowledge of what happened. So you see, you know, when you say chaos, yeah, you see some confusion. You'll see that in a lot of cases in which police officers go, try to make a quick assessment and try to administer whatever aid and help they possibly can. So I understand that, you know, Officer Andres was there as well. Look, that's a part of our inquiry. How did he get injured? Whether it was from anything, that's a part of our inquiry. And we share this video as it's, you know, independent video with audio as we arrive on the scene. As far as reestablishing and reconstructing how the crash happened, that's a part of that protocol that the state police and the Attorney General's office.
I guess my question is, though,
Yeah.
couldn't he have just cleared that up and said, oh, I hit the stop sign?
I'm not going to speculate whether he could have or not. I don't know if he knew that at that point, but I'm going to leave it at the evidence is the evidence, and what he said at the time is recorded and we pushed out.
Commissioner, could you?
Has Officer Andres
Right,
given
and
a
then I'll go to
statement?
Stephen.
Has
Yes,
Officer Andres given a statement to investigators, and if so, what has he said?
that's a part of the inquiry as to what led up to the crash and the injuries. So it's all a part of it, and the other officers involved as well. Stephen.
Can you explain the reasoning behind the 30-second delay on the Axon body cameras they were using?
Yeah, so this technology with the body cams, it's constantly recording, but rebuffering every 30 seconds. So even when it's off, so the camera gets turned on, you engage the camera by tapping on the body cam, right? So when I say it's on, it's the engagement of that body camera. And so when an officer hits that body camera button twice, it automatically begins recording audio, but it catches the preceding 30 seconds of video. And so you'll hear 30 seconds of video, and then the audio comes on.
Right.
Actually, when that officer tapped is when that audio begins, but the technology captures the 30 seconds of video preceding the
And just following up, just following up, could you actually explain why we chose to blur Jamal's face in the videos? I mean, is that because we know who he is? It's not like
Sure.
a protect
I
ID.
mean, for his privacy and the privacy of the family.
Commissioner, looking at all of the videos, including the ones that have already been released, and comparing it to the policy handbook with respect to chases, there seemed to be some inconsistency with lights being on and so on and so forth. You mentioned a criminal investigation. Is there an ongoing internal investigation that will look into possible violations of policy, and is that limited to just Officer Andres? Are there other police vehicles and officers that are involved in possibly creating the ultimate situation?
Yeah, so that's all inclusive. So you have the criminal end of whether or not there's criminal liability. There's also things in that video that we need to address administratively. And without identifying, because we haven't gotten all the answers to all those questions yet, but yes, we're gonna look at whether it was a pursuit, and if it was, if there's any violations of the pursuit policy. We're gonna look at a body cam engagement and whether or not the officers should have engaged their body cam or not. And the response to aid also, is it appropriate, as you see on the body cam, and also understanding the Narcan decision. I'm not defending it, I'm just telling you that what's in the officers' minds. But yeah, there'll be some administrative review and some administrative accountability.
You had mentioned, just to follow up on that, you had mentioned last week that it was an escort, not a pursuit. Is that still kind of the formal way that this is being investigated?
We're looking at what that is versus what it isn't, and what we actually, what we were doing and why we were doing it.
Is there more footage that you have not released?
There's no more footage that, there is not any additional body cam footage for Elmwood at Bissell. We have body cam footage hours before that were not released. There's a lot of that, and we'll eventually release
From other
those as
parts of
well.
the city?
Yeah, and the point as we went there, and officers may have gotten out of their vehicles and engaged in body cams. So. Yeah, hold on, and then I'll get to you. Yes?
Thank you. There's more question, this is a question about what's happening now. There's a flyer circulating about a potential purge in Providence in the aftermath. Have you seen this flyer and what's going on about that?
We have, and we're monitoring it.
Any other
So-
details you have about that?
I'm sorry?
Any other details? Will there be more police detail this weekend?
Look, as we have protesters coming here or anywhere in the city, we monitor it and we'll be prepared as much as we can. So we've seen that, and hopefully I've just asked anyone that's angry over this case or any other case, please do it peacefully whenever you protest, and we'll be there as much as we can to make it safe. You know, violence has no place, and we hope that it's not violence, although the posting is troubling. Yes.
What about the photo from the moped and the police cruiser? Can you tell us if the guy hit the moped? Can you release the photo?
That's a part of what we're really concentrating on, the state police are concentrating on.
Why
And
not
so-
release it now? Because it's transparency.
Hear me out. So they haven't come to any definitive decisions about how the accident occurred and what may have touched what other vehicle. That will be all released. At this point, it's still under investigation by the accident reconstruction experts. So I know you want as much as you can, but we don't want to disrupt what we're trying to do with the Attorney General's office and the state police at that very question. But it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Colonel,
Yes.
is Mayor Lawson taking questions, or are you just handling?
Yes, no,
Oh,
Colonel.
I have a question for Mayor
Sure.
Lawson, if you don't mind. Mr. Mayor, what do you learn by watching this additional footage released today that maybe that you didn't know prior to seeing this information today?
So I want to just step back and begin the way that I began each one of these. We're here because a young man is in very difficult condition in the hospital right now, and our thoughts go out to his family, and we all pray for a full and quick recovery. With respect to your question, I've seen these videos. I don't know how much additional light they shed over the other videos that we have seen, at least for that incident. But as the Commissioner mentioned, we're investigating every aspect of this, what led to it, and then the aftermath. The priority right now is the criminal end of the investigation, and once that is complete, we're making a list of every single incident that we have to look at an administrative level, and we'll be addressing every single one of them in turn. So, at this point, it's too early and it's speculative to comment one way or the other. But I do want to reassure everyone here and everyone in the public that we're going to do a full investigation here. And by full, that means not just looking at that actual moment, but looking at everything that led to it and that came afterwards. Then the other piece is the transparency, which is as important as anything else. We want to share with you as much as we can as early as we have it. And we've also proactively invited an independent set of eyes to be a part of this process. So that's a commitment that I've made and I will continue to make, and to make sure that as much as possible, not only is it a professional, thorough, complete investigation, but it's transparent with the public, so the public has all the information that was used internally to reach their conclusions.
Mayor, just a brief follow-up on that.
repetir lo que dijiste en español, por favor?
Sí, bueno, lo que dije es de que para comenzar lo más importante es recordar de que estamos acá porque un joven de nuestra comunidad está en el hospital con heridas muy serias, y más que nada nuestras oraciones están con su familia y le deseamos una recuperación total, y ojalá que sea lo más pronto posible. Con eso dicho, mi rol en todo esto siempre ha sido asegurarle al público de que vamos a tener una investigación completa y transparente, completa y profesional con cada aspecto de esto que se investigue. No solo el momento donde hubo, donde fue el incidente, pero también todo lo que lo llevó a ese punto y también lo que vino después. La investigación con los asuntos potencialmente criminales, pero también a los asuntos administrativos. Y finalmente, el compromiso que tengo yo con la comunidad entera es asegurar de que este proceso también sea lo más transparente posible. Y por eso es de que nosotros hemos invitado a otros ojos independientes, al fiscal general y también a la policía estatal, para que sean parte de esta investigación. Lo más importante es asegurarle a todos de que va a ser una investigación profesional y completa, y que también le vamos a dar toda la información al público que tengamos nosotros.
One more question, guys. How long did it take for the response team, for them to get there? Because you can hear in the video there seemed to be some sort of frustration or some confusion with the address. So my question for both of you is, one, was there confusion, and how long did it take? And also, what do you have to say to people in this community when they call 911 and they expect a response team and you can't even get the right address, it seems like?
Sure. So the right address was provided because the Providence Police called it in. Now you hear some subsequent conversations with officers that are coming from either another district or wasn't familiar. And so I can assure you that our dispatch knew exactly where we were. And then when we called for rescue early on, the rescue was dispatched. When you see the engine pull up, those are EMTs. Those are people that are trained to be in a rescue, and they start providing some aid here. I don't know the time in which exactly the EMTs arrived on scene from dispatch. I don't have that time, but I can tell you at scenes in which seconds, both matter, and it feels like you're waiting an awful long time for a rescue to come. Once the EMTs were on the scene, they start administering, and then the rescue subsequently comes. I'll get you the time frame because we have it. I just don't have it with me.
I just want to go on Steve's point from earlier.
Yes, sir.
So do these videos tell you anything? Do they get you any closer to a conclusion of what happened?
Look, these videos speak for themselves, and does it? No, it doesn't show the crash, and it doesn't provide us, what happened preceding the arrival of those officers. Of course, it doesn't, because they came afterwards. It's helpful as independent evidence, audio and video, as to the scene and the subsequent, the subsequent actions of our police officers. So it is helpful, but it doesn't provide what we're all looking for, and that's what we're focused on.
And my second part of that is the subsequent part. Jamal's mother told me last week that that's really what concerned her. She said that she felt that he was pulled like a rag doll. Were you concerned by that part of the video?
Look, when I saw it, I was concerned, but again, hearing from the officer, in which we will, as to his rationale, and when you hear, so the first video that was pushed out by the young man, that was concerning, and then this adds a perspective of what he was trying to do, and I'm not going to speculate. He's going to have to respond to why he did that.
What may have been the rationale?
The bike was on his leg, and he was pulling him away from that bike or that. So there's a lot of speculation, and the officer will have to respond to what his thought was and what was the time in which he pulled him and those kinds of things.
So can I have a question for the chief?
Okay.
Chief, you can hear them discussing the stop sign. Based on what you've seen in the video, could you take us through the stop sign, where it is on Jamal, and then if it would seem, is it possible that the stop sign is what caused the injury to his head?
Very possible. All that is in question. All that is in play. It's very similar to an investigation we'll do on any front in the Providence Police Department. It's all processing of information. There's a lot. There's witness statements, there's verbal accounts, there's video, there's surveillance video, there's body-worn camera video, and all of it is going to transparently come out in the end. So it would be an injustice and not fair to the investigation to all individuals to give their opinion as to what happened. We need all the information and make a concrete final response to what we believe happened.
The car that pulled out from, the cruiser that pulled out from Bissell Street stops and then continues forward. Why was that officer doing that? Was he trying to stop the moped, and did that contribute at all to the crash?
Again, I'm going to stand by all part of this investigation, with the stop sign and the injury.
Chief, the young man who had the cell phone seemed to be treated pretty poorly by the two police officers he interacted with. In fact, he was ordered onto the sidewalk and then yelled at when a police car almost ran him down on the sidewalk and told to get out of the way. And they were both very abrupt and like strong with him. And I didn't know if there was any reason, or if they thought there was anything wrong with what he was doing, or if there was any reason, did he present in any way that made them feel that he had to be treated that way?
So again, I can tell you, we show up to a lot of scenes that are chaotic. There's a lot of confusion. We try to gain control of the scene. And as was stated by the commissioner, at the end of this investigation, the focus of this investigation is the injury to the young man and whether or not the vehicle hit the bike. Everything else will be part of the investigation, and we'll certainly look at that internally like we do many of our events.
Right.
Whether we can do something better, different training, and if need be, will there be some sort of internal discussions with individuals on that scene? Yes, of course.
Was that officer Andre, can you confirm that video we're talking about when the officer, you could hear him getting a little abrupt, and he said he actually says no one hit them, no one hit him with his car. Was that Andres in that video saying that?
That's going to be the last question, okay?
I'm not sure if that was that.
I have another question.
Steve, we have to go.
I believe it was the commissioner who last week told us that you anticipate you would have a preliminary investigation within 2 weeks. Does that still hold?
It does.
So we're midway there.
We're midway there, yeah. Probably within a week, we'll have a preliminary accident reconstruction report by the state police in conjunction with the Providence Police accident reconstruction specialist as well. And of course, the Attorney General.
How do you anticipate you'll convey that?
Like we've conveyed this and others, we will notice the media, and there'll be a briefing.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I can do follow-up.